Hey everyone, and welcome to the Childcare Bridge. I'm so excited to have you today. This is the continuation of our ongoing series and working with Angela and Chorus Cottage to look at how we can just continue to help infuse some new energy, some new enrollments, help improve the brand, help with staffing, financials, and all that good stuff. If you didn't get a chance to listen to our first live episode, please make sure you tune into that. That's going to give you a lot of context. And the hope is that as you continue to listen in, you're going to start to glean different insights that you can take back to your center. Today, Angela and I are going to focus on two different topics that are somewhat intertwined, but also quite different. The first topic is financials. So in the first episode, as I was kind of questioning Angela and just kind of asking a little bit more about the financial side, we realized that there's really no structured accounting system or way to just really be analyzing numbers on a regular basis. So typically when I'm working with a childcare center, we need to make sure that we know the numbers first. So that's the piece that we're going to start our conversation with today, and going to just show Angela, I wouldn't say how easy it is to organize the financials, but just what we were able to do in a short amount of time. And then from there, we're going to kind of flip the switch a little bit and kind of talk bigger picture. And I mailed one of my favorite books to Angela called The Vivid Vision. And it's really all about just creating this magical environment in your head as to what does your center look like 3 years from today. So I'm going to throw some questions and we're going to start to work on that document as well. But first, I know Angela's already had some good news to share, but tell me a little bit more about how things have been going. I know you mentioned before we turned on the recording, you've got some new enrollments. You've been able to attract some new teachers. How have things been going the last week or two?
Good, very busy. A lot of people who came in a few weeks ago came back to enroll, and I think we've got like 5 or 6 new kids.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But we've also lost a few kids, so it's kind of evened out a little bit. Most of our 4-year-olds go to pre-K in the schools, so we only had 5 or 6, and they've all kind of transitioned to the after-school program. And then we had a few move, that sort of thing. So
how long would you say in between the families kind of coming in and taking a tour with you have they been taking to make the decision to enroll? Has that been a few weeks or a little bit sooner than that?
most families sign up the same day.
Got it.
I have maybe one a week that say, I don't need it right away. I'm going to think about it, whatever. And they'll come back a week or two later.
And I think that's an important point to note is a lot of centers don't realize that the best time to grab that enrollment is when they're with you live. So I know that I started going through, if you see me pausing or sipping water, I found this little fun cup that I stole from my house today. So as always, I like to kind of keep things casual, trying a new kind of mixing some tea and water to keep that rolling so I can kind of reduce my caffeine intake a little bit. I'm drinking way too much coffee lately. We started looking for childcare for my daughter. And we went to the same place that my other kids were enrolled at. And we took the tour. And unfortunately, I'm going to be a little biased just in working in this industry, but really underwhelming tour. It was maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes on the high side. And it was more just what questions do you have? What questions do you have rather than talking about happy families or didn't even bring up the curriculum. It was more, here's the infant room, here's the 2s and 3s, here's the pre-K room that you'll be in, here's the playground, go back to the office. Do you have any questions? And I had to bite my tongue to make sure I didn't start like reverse coaching the director of like, hey, you should have been asking like I mean, is there anything holding you back in a couple of those questions? But
Mhm.
is there any secret sauce that you use to bring them over the finish line when you're kind of having that conversation with them? Like, how do you transition from hope you enjoy the tour to are you ready to enroll?
So the first thing I do, I have a little intake form that they fill out before they ever come, and it's got like their name, address, all their contact. It's got the type of care they needed, if they need NCI, which is the financial aid. And then I guess the first thing I do is I sit down and I ask them, why are you needing childcare? What was your situation before? Kind of get some background. And then the purpose is to find out what they didn't like so that I can overcome it. I look at those as like obstacles, and most of the time, I don't really have any obstacles to overcome because, you know, we've I've kind of overcome them before because I have young kids and I've toured the competition. I knew thoroughly everybody within a 3-mile radius, their strengths and weaknesses before I ever opened the doors. I have a notebook, like a little 3-ring binder, and in it has you know, um, it has details about my curriculum, it has pricing. So I kind of go through it with them and kind of see where they want to stop and read or whatever, and then that's where I'll stop and I'll like elaborate. But I think the biggest thing is building the value. And the more value you build, the more they're going to see what a great value it is. Even if we are a little more than our competitors, you know, we offer so much more. So
I like it. No, I'm always happy to hear some wins, and really happy that you're making some forward momentum. So very, very happy to hear it.
I I think the other thing from feedback that I've gotten from parents is the way you welcome them is the most important. So, like when we have parents come in, I get down on the child's level and I talk to the child and really pay attention to the child and just, show them that care and nurturing because they're my customer. So I don't ignore the child. And what parents have told me is a lot of places they go in and they don't even say hello to the child. It's all about the parent. But for me, that child is, they want to see how we're going to interact with them. And with COVID, we don't do tours. We do them with our camera system. So
Okay.
I'll show them through our cameras because I can go backwards and everything and show them like a typical day, no matter what time they come in. But I'm really representing the teachers and how they're going to be towards the kids. And if I'm warm and loving and nurturing, they're going to, really respond to that and kind of think that our teachers are the same way, which they are.
You made two really, really great points there. So the first one is just your approach to the tour, and to your point. So when we were touring for my daughter, we went to a variety of different places,
Mm-hmm.
and the one that we chose was the most nurturing, and they gave the most in-depth amount of one-on-one time where you didn't feel like a number,
Mm-hmm.
even though one of the other centers was smaller. And like, oh, we're going to get a lot of personal care there. To your point, the director, I think, was like, oh, hello to my daughter, and then just kind of kept rolling on. So that's one great point for everyone listening. And the second one that I think a lot of people haven't thought of, and I love the idea, and I'm sure that we have centers that have done this, but probably not the level that you have. I love the idea of using your cameras to kind of take them through. So I know we've got a lot of centers that are doing virtual tours, and maybe they're walking them through using FaceTime or Zoom or something like this, like in a live environment. We've got some centers that they've done kind of a canned presentation, but I love the idea of using the cameras during the process. So great idea. I mean, far too often is the tour and just that whole process. I think it's almost at times an afterthought where people are like, well, if they're touring, they're going to enroll. And parents now more than ever are shopping around a few places. So you could be third, fourth, fifth different center that they've had a look at. And it's that whole adage of people don't remember, what's the exact phrase? People don't remember like what you did for them, but they remember how you made them feel.
Right.
And that was, I mean, the text that my wife sent, I wasn't able to go to actually yet the center that she chose. I should say we chose, but I was traveling, and it was all about how that particular, I think that was the owner, how that particular owner made our family feel. As well, she was more welcoming, and she was showing us a lot more things and talking through the curriculum and her background, and this is why she loves to do. So
yeah, definitely.
I love it. So a lot of good nuggets already. So let's talk everyone's favorite topic. Let's talk money. So I'm going to, and I haven't done this in a while, so bear with me. Let's see if I can share. I'm going to see if I can share a screen. So give me just a second. Share screen. Screen sharing is easier with two monitors. Yes, I would agree. So if you see my eyes shifting, I'm just looking to my second monitor. So can you see the financials okay on your side?
Yeah, they're kind of small, but yeah, I can see them.
All right. So this is so what we did was we took all of this raw data that you gave us, and okay, great. So tuition, cameras, NCI, which again is the government assistance program. So what you did, the good news is you were able to give us all of the raw data. And then what we've been doing is taking all the raw data and simplifying it to like this. So your numbers for last year, or excuse me, last January, so roughly 6 months or so ago, $32,000 in revenue. And then your top two largest expenses are payroll and rent. So 98% of the time, that is the same thing that I see. The only time that I see that a little bit differently is if somebody had an acquisition or you purchased a bunch of school buses or something like that, for example, and they're going to have a huge payment there. The cameras, are you financing those, or what is that? Or is it like a security system? What does that look like?
We're financing them, but we also stream for parents, so we pay for that.
Got it. Are the cameras almost paid off, or do you still have a ways to go on those?
I think we're about halfway.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what we just started talking about at the beginning was I guess I would call it the old formula, but the formula that everyone knows and uses is you take your revenue. So $32,000 in revenue. I'm just going to mute your mic just for a second. I'm hearing that echo again, but I'll unmute you in just a second. So the old formula is revenue, which is here. So $32,000 in revenue, and you subtract out your different expenses. So fees, gas, payroll, rent, and that equals $18,000. So you've got $18,000 of expenses, and that leaves net revenue or profit, or some people call it the EBITDA. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. So that is how, 95+% of people look at the numbers. The way that I'm going to have us start, as we're continuing to work together, the way that I'm going to have you start looking at the numbers is like this. Sales minus profit equals expenses. So what we're going to start to do is we're going to make sure that as your revenue is coming in, we are going to be baking in so that you are taking profit 2 times every single month. And it's going to go into a separate bank account. So as this money comes in, we're going to look at what is not even reasonable, but what's the profit number we're going to be looking at. And I'll show you how we're not going to try and tackle everything in this call, but we're going to have you set up a couple of different bank accounts, and the money is going to flow like this. So let me just create a new tab, and I'm just going to raise this a little bit. And the reason that I love doing it like this is that a lot of child care center owners pay themselves last. So the good news is and you can unmute your line at any time. Just the only reason I muted it, there was just a slight echo. Or I can just unmute you right there. The typical center will pay themselves a very small salary, and then they just kind of leverage what is left is kind of the scraps. And that's not what we're looking to do here. So there's going to be a few different bank accounts I'm going to have you set up. And if you want to make sure you're not having to pay for these bank accounts. We're big fans of credit unions, but you want to not have to be paying to maintain these accounts. So one of them is going to be an account that is labeled revenue. So you could keep your current one if you wanted as revenue. And this account is literally all of your income goes here.
Okay.
So similar to what you have now, most people, what they do is they practice what I call kind of bank account accounting. They look at their bank account. Do I have any money? Yes or no? Great, I'm doing well. Great, I'm not doing well. So the reason that we're going to establish a bunch of different bank accounts, let me just make sure I have this muted. 1 second. Sorry. I should have thought I had my phone silenced. Now I do. Normally what they'll do is all that money that's coming in, okay, great. Part of the month you're like, oh, great, we have all this income coming in. It looks great. And then all of a sudden you forget that you have, this is a 3 payroll month, for example, or geez, I have to pay for X, and then all of a sudden you're poor. And it's like up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
So what Profit First does is it starts to normalize this a little bit. So bank account number 1, you can either call it revenue. I actually call my account income. Okay. Second account that we're going to create is a profit account. So I'll just label this number 2. So we're going to call this profit, and this will start to make more sense in just a second.
Okay.
So the profit account, we're going to take a percentage of income, and we're going to do it twice a month. So you're going to be moving a lot of money around 2 times a month.
Okay.
On the 10th and on the 15th. So what's going to happen is, again, all the money goes into the income account, which you kind of already have that one bank account.
Right.
And then on the 10th and 15th, we're going to transfer money based on percentages to a couple of these different accounts. So the third account that you're going to create is going to be called operating expenses, or OPEX. So this is where typically most people, this is where most of their money ends up going, is OPEX. The challenge, though, is that if we don't pull out profit, you end up just getting whatever is left. The Profit First methodology is that as the owner, I need you to not only be getting your salary, but I want you to be taking profit twice a month, every single month. And what we're going to do is, as we go through this, I'll show you what's going to happen with that money, where it goes, and then how you actually get to use it. So third account is called OPEX. Fourth account is going to be for taxes. So this is going to be a percentage as well. And this is going to be a percentage of income. So these are the 4, I guess, basic accounts. If we really wanted to get more complicated, we could have a separate account for payroll. Most people have a separate account that they use for owner's pay. So we can talk through that in just a second. But here's how this is going to work. So all of your money, again, starts here. And can you see this okay? Do you want me to make the numbers look a little bigger?
No, I can see it.
Let me let's just make it even. Hopefully that's a little bit better.
Even better.
Perfect. So here's how this is going to work and what the reality looks like. Mm-hmm. So in January, your income account, I go here, there was $32,000. Mm-hmm. So what that means is your first account would have $32,000 in total. So we're just gonna round it to 32,000. Now, throughout the month, you're going to have obviously different deposits and things like that are coming in. Yeah. So the reason that you're going to use this 10th and the 15th, it'll make sense in just a second. But as money is coming into your income account, then what we're going to do is you're going to move money into your profit account, mm-hmm. your OPEX account, and your taxes. Mm-hmm. The reason that you're doing that is that if all of your money sits in one bank account, you don't have a sense of how things are going. You're not setting any money aside for taxes. Right. So at the end of the year, when the tax person says, hey, you owe $50,000, and you're saying, oh my gosh, I don't have any money left. And they're saying, well, how is that? Because you made $10,000 a month every month. Yeah. You're going to be in a much better spot than you ever have been before because you're going to be planning. So this is how this would have worked. So if I take your current percentages, you had 32,000, and then your OPEX account was, I'm just going to round that to $19,000. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you would have transferred $19,000, that would have covered everything that you had for the month. Mm-hmm. However, I moved these into the wrong accounts. Move this down. Okay. So, however, you didn't transfer any money for profit or any money for taxes. Mm-hmm. So what you would do is you would have then transferred, and we'll talk about the percentages, but there's a couple of different ways to do this. There's an easy way, and then there's a little bit of a way that could hurt you in the end. But you typically are going to want to take between 10 and 15% and be putting that into a tax account of your revenue. So I could say equals this times 0.15, so $4,800. Okay. I gotta get these so that they're all bigger. 1 second. Mm-hmm. So income, this would be 100%. We did 15% here. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm actually screwing these up. I apologize. That's what I get for doing all this live. Mm-hmm. Second account is your profit account. Mm-hmm. So moving that down here. So this is your tax account. So we did 15% of your taxes. Okay. So twice a month, as money is coming in, it's going to go into your income account. Mm-hmm. And then what you're going to do is you're going to be moving money based on percentages. So rather than just moving $20,000, we're going to look at in just a second where your percentages are, and then we're going to have some goals. So let me share with you in just a second what that means. So this second account is your profit account. A great healthy number to start with for your profit account would be 5% of your revenue. That would be a great number that you are setting aside and adding that to your profit account. So I would say equals your sales, 0.5, 0.05. So you would have transferred during the entire month, you would have transferred $1,600 to a profit account. Is this making sense at all? I know it takes a little bit of time to understand. Okay. So revenue is here, $32,000 in January. Mm-hmm. If we were following profit first, what we would do is you'd have these different bank accounts set up, and twice a month you would be transferring. So let's say if you were only doing this once a month, you would transfer this $19,000 to an account that says op expense, and that's where all of your bills are going to get paid from.
Okay.
So all bills paid from this account. You do not pay. Go ahead, please.
Does that include payroll?
That includes everything. Yep.
Okay.
So your OPEX account is going to be where you're paying all of your bills from.
Mm-hmm.
The profit account is typically a savings account.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the key with this account and with your tax account. Wish there was a way to just make like everything just 24. Here's the secret sauce. This number you transfer right after you do your income. You're going to transfer it to this bank account. But in a perfect world, I want you to have this bank account at a completely different bank than your income account and your OPEX account. Do you know why we're doing that? Or not?
So you're not tempted to use
100%. So this is ideally at a different bank. So I use First Internet Bank for my profit and my tax account. The same thing with the taxes. This can be a savings account, ideally at a different bank. So your current financial, you would have your income account, which you already have one bank account now. You could keep that, and then you would say, hey, I want to open up a second bank account, and you're going to label it operating expenses. And then you would want to open up 2 more accounts at a different financial so that you cannot transfer money easily. Because what ends up happening, and I've been doing this profit first for many, many years, is that if all this money is at the same bank, what you're going to end up doing is you're going to transfer profit and you're going to say, well, I could really use, I don't know, a new X.
new playground equipment.
New playground equipment. That profit is not to be used for the business whatsoever.
Okay.
So you're going to start taking profit ideally in this month first, and it can be a small percentage. It can even be 1%. And I'll show you how these percentages start to evolve with your business. Fill up my water here for a second, and then I'll do a little bit of a recap in just a minute. Rocking a different cup today. Today I've got the Harry Potter, Slytherin, and Gryffindor and all that. So we're headed to Florida next week. So I figured I could get in the spirit. So this profit account, you can start small, even if it's, again, 1%, 5%. That money goes to a different account, and you're going to be transferring money 2 times a month, 10th and 15th. Now, we can play with the dates if needed, but I'll show you kind of the logic behind transferring twice a month. So money comes in, and you're going to transfer it. The first transfer that I always make is to my profit account, because I need you to get in the habit of you taking profit first. That goes to a different bank account. And then typically what you do is once a quarter, you will use a percentage of that for something fun that you've been wanting to do for yourself. So let's say that you were doing the 5%, $1,600 a month for 3 months. Great, the quarter's over. You've got $4,500+ in there. That money is yours to do with whatever you want, as long as you are not investing it back in the business. So that money is, you want to take a vacation with your family and you have a lot of kids. You want to use that to do something around your house. You want to invest some of it personally, not for the business. Pay down some personal, like that is your money. It should never be going back in the business. And I will tell you that in experience, that is one of the hardest ones for people to do, is to start taking profit and then not use it. Well, I want to go buy this. If you're not taking profit from the business, you are a slave to your business. And that's not what we want here. We want you to be able to relax a little bit, to start to see the fruits of your labor. So you need to be getting paid first. So
I do draw a salary.
You do. So that's fine. And we're going to talk about that in just a second. but I also want you to be taking profit above and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I look at this without putting any money aside for taxes, you had $14,000 in net revenue before taxes in the month of January.
Yeah.
So what I don't want that to do is that just sits in an account and then it's going to get eaten up.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that we're monitoring percentages and budgets and numbers and things like that. So if I come back here, let's see if I can do this formula correctly. So I believe it's this. I'm going to format this to a percentage to look and see what your percentage is. All right. So if I look at the numbers, so revenue, 100%. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For the month of January, your operating expenses took up 60% of your revenue. We need to set some money aside for taxes. So that would be 15%. So now you're at 75%. And then another 5%, if we were to have factored in profit, you'd be at 80. Mm-hmm. The good news is with those numbers, there's still 20% left. So let me kind of show you then, I guess, stage 2 of what this does for you and how do you start to move it. Mm-hmm. So what we would do here is, if this was the reality, okay, mm-hmm. we wouldn't be putting in numbers here. What you do is you're going to transfer money based off of percentages, and the percentages always have to equal 100%.
Okay.
So like this. So we're at 79. So if we know that you're spending 60% on your operating expenses, we could do one of a few things. We could say, well, let's take 15% mm-hmm. profit. Mm-hmm. So I could say equals this times this. So now instead of taking $1,600, you took $5,000. So now we're at 89%. You still had enough money for your op expenses. Mm-hmm. Format this as a number. And I know this is a little bit of a heavy meeting, but the fundamentals of you being able to get a grasp of how things are going is we've got to make sure that you know your numbers mm-hmm. and where you're at so that we can benchmark. So we could have increased your profit, or we could add a fifth bank account, and that could be called slush fund for the business. There's a lot of different names that you could call that, but we could say we also could create a separate account called owner's pay, and we could start to increase your pay, and that would factor. So let's just say that this was, I don't know, even if you just call it the rainy day fund. And let's say that that's 11%. So I would say this, $32,000 times 11%. So let me walk you through what these numbers actually mean. And then we're going to go to this. This should equal 100%. All right. So here's what this actually means. Month of January, revenue, $32,000. We were able to put 15%, which is a huge number, that you were able to take out of the business above and beyond your salary into a separate bank account for profit. The third account is your op expense account. So 60% of your revenue went to cover payroll, rent, and all your extra expenses. We set aside another $4,800 for taxes so that at the end of the year, you've got a separate account. It's got enough money to cover your tax liability. Mm-hmm. And then this fifth account, we call that a slush fund, and we set aside 11% into that. And that has $3,500 in it. Now that one, again, that could be used for you to start if you know you're going to have to hire some more people. That could be if you want to be putting some money aside to finance something. Does that make sense how we kind of got to there?
Yes.
So the final piece of this equation, I'm going to duplicate this once more, is that we want to start benchmarking off of, I'm going to put this one up here, call it the rainy day fund. When your revenue comes in twice a month, what you're going to do is you're going to move money based off of these percentages. So let's say that halfway through the month, there is $15,000 in your account. You're going to then be moving money according to the percentages. So this was 60% equals this times this. So on the 10th and 15th, the first thing you're going to do is you would move $2,250 to your profit account. Does that make sense? So you'd be if you brought in $15,000, let's say you're halfway through the month, you're going to move 15% into this different savings account, $2,250. You're going to move 60%, which is $9,000, into an operating expense account. You're going to move $2,250 to your tax account, and then you're going to have your rainy day money. You're then going to do the exact same thing a second time in the month based on your revenue. All of the numbers adjust. The percentages do not adjust. If your revenue is higher, you're going to move more money. You should not be lowering you shouldn't say, well, we did more revenue, then I should take less profit. No, if you bring in more revenue, you should be able to continue to take this percentage. You should continue to pay the 15%. Now, the key to all this, though, is this OpEx number is the one that tends to get out of hand. So if I look at, and let's just look at March. So, and I don't believe you had does the food money come in quarterly for you?
So the food money comes in when they process our claim, and sometimes we have trouble getting all the stuff in to process our claim. So some months we'll get 2 claims in, but it's about the same. It's about $10,000 a month. It's just some months we'll get like 2, sometimes even 3. It goes automatically into our account.
Got it. So, I follow you.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking at March, for example, so your net revenue before taxes or anything else was $7,500, and obviously that was a little bit of a different story because you didn't get the food money. But January, it was, you had that $10,000, so that obviously would accommodate for that. But you still want to be focusing on these percentages. So if you didn't get the food money, I would, go to this one here. I wouldn't want you to just start changing up your percentages. And the goal in the end is that we want your profit number to go up and either a rainy day fund or owner's pay. So normally I would separate out, just from my math, I would be separating out owner's pay. So, because what I'm looking to do is I want this number to keep going up and up and up. If all of a sudden your profit is 20% because we are able to only have to put in 55% to OpEx, the goal is we're literally going to be managing your business based off of 5 or 6 percentages. So to sum this up, and then we'll kind of switch topics because I know it's a heavy topic for a Friday afternoon. if we knew that this is the benchmark, and let's say that we wanted to start here, and let's say that we want to be on the safe side of percentages, and let's say that we put your operating expenses 65%, and you're taking 10% profit. That if you start to use these numbers, what we're doing then is for the month of, it'll probably take us August to get it set up, but then let's say September, your money comes in twice a month, you would be using these percentages. So if you have $30,000 in revenue, oops, I missed a zero, you would be moving $3,000 to your profit account, $19,500 to OPEX, $4,500 to taxes, $3,000 to a rainy day fund. The goal is that, again, so if this is, let's say that this was September, and then what I want to look at is September reality. So you might say, well, Michael, so let's just duplicate this and see if the formulas carry over. You might say, so let's say your revenue was 28,000, but you might say, well, we needed more money here, or we hired somebody else. Maybe this is 80%.
Yeah.
What I want to look at is if our goal was this, that you get to take 10%, you have money for a rainy day fund, you have money for taxes. I want to see what the reality was, so that we then can work together on looking at your expenses, looking at income, and making business decisions. So the goal is going to be to see how close did we get to our objective. So that might mean, well, your rainy day fund was 0, and you only moved 5% because your payroll was higher and you weren't able to hit that 65% number. So you're still, for the first couple of months, we still have to be monitoring the numbers, because what I don't want to do is, if you say, well, Michael, you told me only to transfer 65%, and then you had a third payroll, for example, and then your account's in the red. So we have to, those kinds of things, it has to be fluid.
Right.
But the most important piece is this. I need you taking profit first into another bank account. The second thing you're going to be doing is moving a percentage into the tax account. And then that allows us to really keep an eye on your operating expenses and to see if we can then do any more interesting things. So if this number here was a reality, and based on how you performed in January, it definitely is. These are great numbers. Go ahead, please.
I think one month I actually had a loss, like it was negative something.
Let's see here. So February summary, you had the food program, so you made $10,000 before taxes. So I would have taken 15% of this should go into a tax account. And I would still take some profit retroactively. March, you made $7,000, and that did not even factor in the food program in that month. So even if you were to take your 15% of that, you still would have money left over for profit. April, I know we started building this out a little bit better here. So April, I don't know if it was an additional payroll, but April, you still made $13,000. And May, you made $14,000. Your revenue, and I think you had your revenue in May was $44,000. So your revenue is climbing up, your expenses climbed. So your expenses were $30,000. So food supplies was a big one. So this allows us to benchmark, and I think I finished June. So June, you had $34,000 in revenue, didn't have the food program in here.
Okay, yeah.
This was the month that I guess hit you the hardest, but you still made money.
Oh, okay.
So from a financial standpoint, your numbers are much better than most centers that we look at.
Really?
Definitely.
Oh,
Definitely.
good.
I mean, the fact that, um, July, $40,000 in revenue, $20,000 in income before taxes,
Mm-hmm.
you're definitely doing well. You're definitely doing well.
Hmm.
So what we're going to do and kind of your next steps. So your first homework assignment is going to be to establish a few of those different bank accounts. So you can set up one or two more at your existing financial as long as they're not charging. I don't want them to be charging you. I hate paying for bank accounts. So um, I'm a big fan of credit unions. So, but I'll let you make that. So you want to establish one account.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be for profit and then another one for taxes. Ideally, these are savings accounts that are at different financials so that when the money comes in,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to transfer the percentages. So boom, that money's in a different account. You don't even see it and you don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what's going to happen is when you and I have a conversation in 90 days, you say, well, geez, I forgot I got like $7,000 in the profit account. You're not using that for vacations and fun stuff. And that's just going to continue to reinvigorate you around the business. So it's not getting put back in the business. The other thing it's going to do with that tax account is you're going to have peace of mind knowing that at the end of the year, it's not extreme anxiety. If you have money sitting in a tax account that's collecting a little bit of interest for you that you don't touch,
Mm-hmm.
that will make your December, January, February during tax time 100 times easier because you're like, the money's already there. Does that make sense? I know, again, I threw a lot of stuff. I threw a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
So the key is establishing the different bank accounts. And then what I will do is so we already have all of your book stuff organized for you already.
Yeah.
To be able to see how much money you're making.
Mm-hmm.
We'll send you a link to create an account on QuickBooks. Usually we get some kind of discount so that we can then move this into a professional tool for you so that it's not just on Excel or Google Docs.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is we're going to put your percentages that we're going to have you start transferring. So once you get the bank accounts done, well, if we can get that done in August, then September, we can start implementing this profit first, transferring money around, and you can kind of see how it works. This one methodology is, personally speaking, has made the biggest financial impact on my life. I also use this exact same thing personally. So I have an income account. So when I take my salary from the business, I have an OPEX account. I have a mortgage account. I have an investing account. So like it's the same kind of methodology, similar to what people used to do when we talked on our call yesterday of the envelope system,
Right.
same kind of methodology as you're just having different financial buckets.
Okay.
So that is that piece. So I'm going to stop screen share. Perfect. Good. No, that was a heavy topic. It's a lot. It'll take, a month or two to really start to sink in. And once you start to see it in action, I think you're really going to love it. And I do think it'll make your life a lot easier.
Oh, okay.
1 second. Let me just adjust that. All right. Next and final topic that I had for today is team. So I know that you still have some roles that are outstanding. Mm-hmm. I had mentioned to you that we had started, we're not finished with it, but we started interviewing some of your former employees. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be, candidly speaking, we're not done, but it's going to be a little bit of a kick in the gut. I think that people are, and I've done this with my company as well, but I've had other people call. People are always very transparent and they like to blame everything else on other people. Mm-hmm. But we're starting to get some good feedback. Pay, we've only done, I think, 4 or 5 calls so far. Mm-hmm. But all of them discussed pay being one of the issues. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first question is, what are the roles that you currently have open? Because I know you mentioned you've got a new person, but then you also had someone that ended up leaving. But what are the roles that we currently have open?
So I need, let's see, I need an infant teacher, another infant teacher. I need possibly 2 infant teachers. I need a teacher's aide for 2 classes. That's all that I see right now.
Okay. I've got your job description up. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk through this a little bit. So usually this is where we like to start with if we're having a hard time recruiting, and every center is having a challenge. I don't like that view as much.
Yeah.
Change it back to this one. Every center that we're working with is having a challenge hiring. But we always like to start with the job ad. So I'm going to look at yours and just kind of talk through it a little bit with you and just kind of get some feedback. So let me share this screen. All right. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Let me bump this size up a little bit. Let's go to 20. So you can read it a little bit easier than I can. All right. So full disclosure, I'm going to tear this apart with you.
Okay.
So,
awesome.
That's the full disclosure.
Love it.
The first thing that we need to do is we actually, and this has definitely changed the last 6 to 12 months, with the hiring shortage, employees know that they're in demand, the childcare industry in particular. So we need to sell them as to why they want to come work here.
Okay.
So we need to do kind of a what's in it for you. And we need to start there before we start off with this bold language of conscientious assessment is required unless this Indeed assessment has been completed. So we'll talk through that stuff in just a second.
Yeah, they don't even read that anyway.
So let's start. Give me some reasons other than the pay. Give me some other reasons why somebody would want to come in. So I know you've got the stuff here, which we're going to talk about. And I know that you charge, because I read your handbook that you sent us yesterday. So I read that over. So I believe you charge $1 an hour. Yeah. So we'll talk through that, which is great. But what are some of the other things that they're going to either be learning, gaining? Tell me a little bit more about the environment that we can start to sell them as to why this is an amazing place to work.
So I think from talking to my staff and, just from my own personality. So I became a teacher because I wanted to make a difference in the world and to leave it a better place than I found it. And I think the main reason someone would come here is a chance to make a difference in the lives of some kids who really need it. We're not what some of my staff refers to as a bougie center. We're a very, blue collar, essential workers, people on the lower SEC. I've always worked at Title I schools, the schools where most of the kids are getting free lunch. So I wanted to extend that to early childhood, because the thing I kept seeing was, these kids who they started with a deficit and it just kept building. And I taught high school, so by 9th grade, I still had kids who couldn't read, write, things like that. And
so I'm just listening, and what I'm doing here is, as you're talking, I'm brainstorming, and then I'm going to keep writing stuff down. Give me some other reasons why they would want to work there. Tell me a little bit more about the culture, and I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep my line on mute so you don't hear my keyboards. But let's load in a few more things. So ability to make a difference. So got that down. Keep going. Give me some more things about the culture.
Okay, so yesterday I brought in an applicant. She didn't speak English, so I kind of brought her back to talk to some of my team. And that's another thing, is we are bilingual, so we're very friendly towards people who speak a different language. And so my team, they were talking to this applicant and they were talking about me. And one of the things they said was that I am good people. And so, they were talking about how, if you have a crisis, I'm very understanding. I try to work with people. I try to, kind of put people first. And it's not just the kids that I see as making a difference in their lives, but also my teachers. I have teachers who, I want to bring them up. I had a girl come in and she was making minimum wage and has a newborn, and she came in to get childcare, and she couldn't afford it. And, at some point I ended up hiring her. So, I do really want to invest in my staff and help them to achieve their personal goals and to be better. I really want people who want to stay here because they love the people here, they love the environment, they love the kids, that sort of thing.
So I started writing a few things down. So I wrote, do you want to grow personally and professionally? Regardless of how long you're here, you'll leave a more well-rounded individual. And I'll massage some of this language after our call. How long have you been in the teaching industry? I know it's a while.
So
in the childcare, and then I know you were a teacher. And
I was a teacher for 20 years.
And then how long have you had Chorus Cottage again? Sorry.
So I'm coming up on, no, I actually just got year 2.
Got it. So 20 years of teaching experience. Learn a second language. So it's English and Spanish, yes?
Yes.
Okay. You can marinate on this one. I would encourage you to eliminate, unless there's some reasoning for the $1 an hour.
I will tell you what the reasoning is.
Sure.
So most of my teachers can qualify for free childcare through the government.
Got it.
But they won't even bother if the childcare is already free.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So there is an application process. It's a hassle. But it's also money out of my pocket because those are spaces that they're taking up if they have kids.
That actually makes complete sense now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put this and I'll calculate the percentage after. So, because you charge $1 an hour, so I'll calculate the percentage. But I mean, obviously, free. That's a huge benefit. I mean, that's some centers we work with give it free, 50% off, 10%. So there's a lot of discs. So we want to feature that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do any other fun group outings with your team? Break room, snacks, coffee, food, and any other randomness that you do?
So I do provide free training, and I do cater. Once a month, we get together for training. I cater it, and it's a time that they can kind of get to know each other better and get free training. I mean, the free training is worth a lot, really.
What would you value the free training as?
So you're going to be paying about, you have to have 30 hours a year. it's going to cost you, if you go out on your own, about $10 to $20 an hour. So, I mean, it's worth around $300, I guess.
So what I did was, instead of this starting off with all of the, this is what you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to start off with what's in it for you. You can make a difference in that you have kids, tuition's not, and again, I'll massage this after our call, but it's just doing the exercise with you live.
Mm-hmm.
So have kids, tuition's 90% off. You want to learn a second language, bilingual, we'll teach you either English or Spanish. This is always big. A lot of centers don't have an owner that's actively involved. So the owner is actively involved with 20 years teaching experience. Do you want to grow personally and professionally? You are going to leave here a more well-rounded individual. Monthly catered lunches, and the ability to ask the owner and each other anything. Open communication and environment.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's another thing is, I know there's a lot of owners who are like, they close their door and they don't want to be bothered and ask the director. I'm not like that. You really can come in my office anytime and talk to me about anything. And I've helped people who were going to be foreclosed on. I've helped people, get into college. Just, I don't know how you would characterize that, but I'm just the kind of person who really wants to help people and see them, grow.
I like it. So this is how we're going to start the job ad, is all these what's in it for you. Because that one thing alone is going to start to drive you more applications. I know there's a variety of different things that people that you, so we're going to put this at the bottom, but what are some things that you're like, if they're not, give me some things, some people that you do not want working here. So, I mean, simple thing, if you're not willing to change a diaper, don't apply. So rattle off a bunch of things and I'm going to take some notes.
I really hate gossip and drama. I had to hire some subs from a placement agency, and one girl came in and she was talking to my other staff and she was like, "Oh, I knew I was in the ghetto when I saw the WIC Center in the same parking lot." So basically you have to be a positive person who really loves kids regardless of where they came from. I have about 10% of my kids who are autistic. And I'm kind of the last stop for a lot of kids. There's a lot of centers that are like, nope, not normal, too much, too special, sorry, goodbye. Or they'll take them for a week or two and they'll be like, no, he's too much. And they'll come to me and they'll be desperate. And I'll be, and I'll work with them. My thing is, I'll refer them for therapy. I provide space for therapists to come in and work with the kids. So I've got speech, occupational, and physical therapists coming in almost every day to work with different kids.
Anything else?
I don't want to say, well, it is a beautiful center. Other than that, I don't know.
So what I will do is I'm going to take this over the weekend. I'll massage this a little bit more. And I'm going to rewrite a bunch of the stuff down here as well for you. We can definitely continue to put this number it's a bit low. So that I think
no, that's not, wait a minute. Is that true? Um, yeah, it used to be a lot less. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So we can get away with this, but not that we're getting away with it, but we may need to look at this a little bit.
It's actually high for the area.
Is it?
Yeah, because whenever they come in on their application, it says like required or starting salary or something like that. And then it has like their past jobs. The average for this area is $9 an hour.
Got it.
Yeah.
So then I want to build up into that a little bit more. The piece that I was most enticed by around the pay was this: our best teachers can earn up to $18 an hour by the end of their first year. Mm-hmm. That's a huge, that's almost, doubling their salary. Yeah. So what I will do is I'll finish rewriting this a bit for you. I wanted to go through the exercise, but to show you that we need to change this up a bit. We need to be more, this is what's in it for you, not to oversell it.
So that just made me think of something. My raises are based on performance. So, getting paid like with teachers, everybody got the same raises every year. It's based on your years of service. But there were some teachers that were really outperforming other teachers and they got the same raise. So they didn't feel appreciated. But I mean, if you're a go-getter and you really put your heart into your job, you will be richly rewarded.
I like it. Do you see how different this is just in changing from what you had versus what we've started putting here?
Yeah, I can see the negativity, even though I do base my hiring decisions on that conscientiousness assessment.
We definitely can do it. I use those, but our step one is more applications.
Yeah.
So I want to, even if they're not a perfect fit, I need to double, triple, quadruple the number of applications that you're getting, and then we can filter them out. But we want them to read this stuff, but unfortunately, most people they're only reading the first paragraph or two. And if the first paragraph or two talks about an assessment and a bunch of other things, I want to say this is what's in it for you. And if they are a fit, they're going to keep reading this, and then they're going to keep reading this. And then you can start to leverage this stuff in the hiring process. But I will take this, I'll rewrite it to get it over to you. And then if you're good with it, we'll do another meeting early next week. We'll get it. I'll show you where we're going to post it. So we're going to post it on more places. I'm going to show you a few of my secret tips with how to get more people. Mm-hmm. And then we'll have that piece going. So between getting more applications and then getting the financials in a better spot to where we know what things are looking like, we know how you're performing, those are two steps really in the right direction. And then from there, it's just going to be to keep adding more. We're going to be having conversations around the culture, your other assignment at your leisure. And I know you don't have very much free time, but to try and skim or speed read that book, Vivid Vision, because we're kind of building the foundation. So the foundation of getting the financials, making sure that we're fixing any huge holes, which one right now for everyone is hiring. So we fix that by, let's just at least make sure you have more applicants to kind of funnel through. And then we kind of continue to go through there. We're going to look through your handbook for parents, and there's a lot of other fun stuff that we can keep rolling through. So.
Okay. The other thing I really need help with is like, how much is too much staff? Because I feel so insecure about my staff. I almost want to have more people than I need, but then I have everybody bumping into each other because I've got so many people here.
Based on what I've seen with your financials so far, if you have more staff than you need, I wouldn't change anything yet. You're profitable. Even if I'm going to have you move some money around for taxes, so that'll limit your bank account quickly. But even with that, I mean, you're still, your net profit after taking profit, after putting some money in a slush fund, you still have, I mean, another $5,000 or so each month so far. So, and if that's with you having more staff than you need, you're in a good spot. I've actually been very happy with what I've seen, but we can look through, and I can pull some of the numbers from other centers and things like that and show you. But I would try and hang on to people right now, because it's, even with what happened to you last year with how much turnover you had, I don't want to get you into a spot where then you're out of ratio and you're having to hire somebody that, what ends up happening is you then have to hire out of desperation. You skip a few of your processes. Maybe you don't do that assessment that you always do. You forget to check a reference. I've done this many times myself. And I mean, I'd be lying to tell you if our account management team, we had 200% turnover in that team because I was skipping steps, and I'm not going to check references. He's got 15 years experience.
Oh, I've got horror stories.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
But no, I mean, just in a couple of weeks of starting to work together, I'm feeling some momentum. I'm liking that we're laying the foundation. Happy that the financials are moving. So action steps, I'll send you a link for QuickBooks so we can get your financials actually in a good tool that's accepted by accountants. Second one, is I'm going to work on just finishing rewriting this job ad for you for your approval. And then we'll have that meeting next week and get it posted to just continue to keep that pipeline full for you. And then we're going to start looking at kind of the vivid vision piece of what do you want the rest of the year to look like, the next year, the next 2 years, so that we can start to revise culture if needed. And that's going to help impact hiring. We can start to leverage that. So we're pulling out of your head, what do you really want the business to look like? So that the whole goal is for you to look forward to Monday, for you to look forward to every day, not, oh my gosh, what issue are we going to encounter? So as we have all this stuff done, then we pivot back over to the marketing of let's start revamping website. Let's get more leads coming in. And that's a fun piece. So getting all the foundation laid. I appreciate your candidness as always, and look for some more stuff from us, and then we will be back on here live next week. Keep sharing the journey.
Great. Thank you.
Have the rest of your day.
You too.
Talk to you soon. Bye.